We met with Dr. Mason, who's Mrs. Mason's husband, and he's a professor of economics at UNF. When he was first majoring in college, he was majoring in math.
Just normal math.
And he realized he didn't like it. And his dad had a PhD in economics. So after he graduated, Dr. Mason ended up getting his PhD in economics. And we were asking about like political activism of students and how it kind of has shifted over time. And he says, which I think is true for high school students too, that around the time of political elections, like the presidential race right now, students become a lot more active. And we were just connecting that to like Vietnam and how during the 60s, the youth movement the youth started becoming a lot more politically active because of these huge events in history. And like because younger people are technically more liberal, and he said that too. He also said he's very conservative, and he said his students tend to be more liberal. And just during Vietnam, like the whole New Left movement, when they started rebelling against like old conservative type people. And also, he was a very conservative guy. He was the head of Libertarian Association at UNF. And when we asked him about NAFTA and his ideas on free trade, he said it was like the most important thing for a thriving economy was to have free trade. And he said it boosts the economy. And he said it was kind of an unpopular opinion almost for people like him to have, because we were talking about like manufacturing in China, and he said if we can get like Nike shoes done there for 7 cents an hour, while that sounds like inhumane and like terribly low, for the Chinese that's actually a good wage, and they would, in the end, it gives them more money so that the Chinese economy can eventually thrive, because they would go out and spend their money, and it also helps our economy as well, because if the consumer can buy Nike shoes for as low as possible, then the consumer is going to go out and buy whatever they can, and it really boosts the economy. He was all about free market. He hated government intervention because he's a libertarian. He hated socialism. He was really about the free market and how that was like our main way. If we wanted our economy to recover and to thrive, we needed to have a free market. We needed to have conservative policies when it came to our economics and how we handled our economy. And yeah, he was a big supporter of NAFTA.
Yeah, and then we also talked with him about like current economics and how like global economics, it plays a role in America today. And we asked him about the Asian Infrastructure Bank and how it really just like shows that the U.S. is a global power economically today, and we can connect this to back in World War I when the U.S. started to become a global power, and we showed our global presence. Also, as Annie was mentioning, like the trade with China and how we are a very big global presence today. And we also talked about the 2008 recession and how that was because of a housing market crash. So we can connect this to the Panic of 1837 with Martin Van Buren in U.S. history because of specie circular and how no one could really pay for the housing out west. So it just shows how like recessions really continue like with the same problems. Also, you could kind of connect this to the Great Depression as like one of the causes was the automobile industry declining really rapidly, and like today the housing market is pretty big, so when the housing market crashes, the economy is going to slowly go down. And then we asked him what was his like biggest, what would he change in the economy, what was the biggest threat, and he said dependency. So what this really shows is like, and what he means by dependency is that the people are dependent on the government, and this doesn't, provide them with an incentive to go out and work themselves and put money into the economy and therefore increase our economy's productivity. So this kind of goes back to FDR when he really, advocated for more government involvement with his New Deal programs such as like Social Security, and then you can also connect it to Lyndon Johnson, where his Great Society programs really created this dependency that Dr. Mason was talking about in when we interviewed.